Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. So, you hope you and your families are good. Wow, we have students from the following 10 schools: Academy for Scholarship and Entrepreneurship, the Gorton High School, Peekskill High School, the Eagle Academy for Young Men of Staten Island, the College of Staten Island High School for International Studies, Dr. Richard Izquierdo Health and Science Charter School, Port Richmond High School, Susan E. Wagner High School, McGee High School, Advancement via Individual Determination, AVID, and the Staten Island Borough Office. Thank you all so much for joining in. We are so pleased to bring you this wonderful Career in the Courts youth program of the Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission, especially at a time where our young people are coming to terms in this global pandemic with a new normal in which this virtual space has become more frequent for students and for us all. Sincere thanks to our Executive Director, Mary Lynn Nicholas Brewster, our Counsel, Carlene Dennis, and the co-chairs of the Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission, the Honorable Justices Shirley Troutman and Troy Weber, our committee, panelists, and everyone who contributed. Special thanks goes to the member of our Youth Initiatives Committee and educators for getting the word out, notably to Enrico Domingo, Director of Multilingual and English Language Learners for the New York City School System, and to Robert DeSena, President of Council for Unity, and its Administrative Director, Kyle Harmon. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank my administrative judge, Desmond Green, for allowing me the time to work on these wonderful programs. My name is Nadine Johnson. I'm commission member and co-chair of the Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission's Youth Initiative Committee. As an attorney working in Richmond County Supreme Court, I handle civil, criminal, administrative, and policy matters, and I supervise our intern programs. I'm a native New Yorker who grew up in Manhattan and the Bronx, and I've led bar associations. I'm a former journalist and college professor, and I'm affiliated with a number of organizations, schools, and youth programs. I am pleased to be the moderator today. Our collective mission is to engage, educate, enlighten, and empower students of all ages on our judiciary, the law, criminal justice, law enforcement, careers, and success goals. It is also our goal that these programs will enhance the diversity and inclusion pipeline for those who may want to work within the court system and or the legal profession. We have a highly esteemed, award-winning panel for you today, representing some of the diversity in our downstate area. Currently, the New York State court system employs close to 18,000 people, including 1,500 judges throughout the 62 counties. The work we do is meaningful and it furthers access to justice for us all. So our focus today is on our state courts, and we've compiled some great materials for you to take a look at, including our Careers in the Court Handbook. We hope you will all enjoy this program that will provide a valuable introduction for all of us and opportunity to learn more. A valuable introduction to all of us. Let me say that again, because oftentimes when we go out to events pre-pandemic, we hear so much from students. I've never met a lawyer, never met a judge. So today is your opportunity to meet everybody. So, housekeeping. First, I'm going to introduce you to my co-chair, Justice Doris Lynn Cohan, who will tell you a little bit about our commission and the importance of diversity. Then I'd like you to view the 4.5-minute video clip of our documentary about Franklin H. Williams. Following that, Justice Lynn Cohan will speak. Next, I will introduce our wonderful panelists, all career professionals working in our court system. We have 3 judges, 3 attorneys, and 4 critical non-judicial staff. They will each have about 3 to 5 minutes to tell you something about themselves and their respective careers. Since we can't bring you physically to tour the court, we've also selected a video of a courtroom tour. And later, if we have time prior to Q&A, there will be another short video on courtroom etiquette. If you note that this session will be recorded. Again, this session will be recorded. You should see a little sign up somewhere on the monitor indicating that. If you have a question at any time, kindly use the chat area to indicate your question. Please mute yourself and turn off your cameras during the presentations. At the end of the presentations, we will have some discussion among the panelists and then open it up for Q&A. And at that time, you may turn on your cameras, use the raise hand feature, and unmute yourself to ask a question or make a brief comment. I also encourage you to listen carefully and take some notes. Okay, so my Youth Initiatives co-chair and fellow commission member, Honorable Doris Lynn Cohan, is coming to us all the way from Vietnam. She recently retired after 25 years as a judge. She is the first woman of Asian descent to be appointed to an appellate panel in New York State, having served on the appellate term First Department. In 2002, she became the first woman of Asian descent to be elected to the Supreme Court. And before that, Justice Lynn Cohan was the first elected from the Chinatown District to New York City Civil Court in 1995. One of her most epic cases happened in 2005. Became the first trial judge in the state to decide in favor of marriage equality in Hernandez v. Robles. Legal Services Managing Attorney and Assistant Attorney General, Justice Lynn Cohan received a from Brooklyn College. Please mute yourself. Someone is speaking. She received a Bachelor of Arts degree summa cum laude from Brooklyn College in 1976 and a Juris Doctor degree from New York University School of Law in 1979. Justice Lynn Cohan is a founding member of a number of Asian organizations, including the Asian American Bar Association and the Jade Council, an organization for court employees of Asian descent. And she is an astute student of Tai Chi. We will first cue up the Franklin Williams documentary clip, and after that, you will hear from Justice Lynn Cohan. Thank you.
We must not stop now. We have come too far to turn back. A nation that has progressed because of the sweat and blood of thousands of blacks, a nation that first tolerated slavery, then outlawed it, that accepted separate but equal as a valid constitutional concept, then rejected it, a nation that has slowly, painfully, tragically evolved to the point where a black can run for the presidency. A nation that has come so far must not now give up the struggle to rid itself of racism.
In 1949, Thurgood Marshall turned to his 31-year-old special counsel, an obscure New York lawyer named Franklin Williams. When the NAACP Legal Defense Fund was asked to help 4 young black men who were accused of raping a white woman in Groveland, Florida. One of the suspects was killed by a posse before being arrested. 2 were taken out on a desolate road by the sheriff and shot. The 3 who survived for trial were convicted by an all-white jury on the strength of false confessions that resulted from torture. 2 were sentenced to die in the electric chair. 1, who was 16, was sentenced to life in prison. All were innocent. But their innocence was of no consequence in 1949 in the Deep South. A white jury could simply never credit the word of a black man over that of a white girl. It was socially and politically unthinkable. Franklin Williams was thrown into the middle of this cultural and legal minefield.
I saw what one man with a law degree can do. And that was, for me, the most important thing that has impacted my life.
There were riots. They bombed a civil rights activist's home. And he saw this. He was part of it. Brave enough to defend these young men and did this throughout the South, by the way. So this was not just someone who spoke civil rights. This is someone who put his life on the line for civil rights.
Franklin Hall Williams was a visionary and trailblazer who devoted his life to fostering better relations between all communities, not through acrimony and violence, but through reason and example. Throughout his lifetime, he would play many roles: attorney, civil rights leader, diplomat, organizer of the Peace Corps, United Nations representative, foundation president. In the late 1980s, the New York State Judicial Commission on Minorities was formed to promote racial and ethnic fairness in the courts. The first such court-based commission ever established in the United States. The commission was first formed at the suggestion of the Coalition of Blacks in Court, the members of which represent various judicial and non-judicial organizations. It would end up being Williams's last major professional achievement, and the commission, since renamed the Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission, is his lasting legacy. With all those
Justice Lynn Cohan.
Yes. So I want to thank all the students for participating in this. I'm so happy to have you with us, particularly because you are why we are doing the work we're doing. As a commission member, as co-chair of the Youth Initiative Committee, we want you to consider a career in the courts. And our commission, our purpose is to educate and to advise the New York State court system as to issues affecting both employees and litigants of color, and to create a pipeline of talented folks like you who are considering what their future will hold. And people like you really are the future of the court. The court needs diversity. It needs people like you from different backgrounds. We need people who are committed to the idea of justice. And that is our purpose, is to encourage folks within the court system to do justice every day, no matter who they are dealing with, because someone far wiser than me talked about a glorious mosaic. And we do have a glorious mosaic in the state. That glorious mosaic should be reflected in our courts as well. So I hope you consider that, because the idea of diversity isn't just, it's nice to have diversity for diversity's sake. It means that we can deliver justice to everyone, no matter who they are. And the public perception of the court system would be that the court system is fair. So we encourage you to listen very, very carefully to our speakers. They are wanting to tell you about their career path, and will encourage you to consider the various careers within the court system. Thank you so much for participating, and I'll turn it back to our next speaker.
Thank you, Justice Lynn Cohan. Thank you. Now I will introduce our panelists, starting with, we're going to career non-judicial speakers. Let me turn my video on. We're going to start with our career non-judicial speakers, because believe it or not, the court system is a fine-tuned system where we work as a team. And in order for everything to work well in service to the public, critical operations have to be set up in order for proceedings to begin and for the judge to preside. If you've ever been in a courtroom or watched a proceeding or on TV or in the movies, you'll notice that the judge is the last one to walk into a courtroom. So we're starting with Li Zhang. Li Zhang is a network engineer at the Richmond Supreme Court. She began her career with Richmond Supreme Court in 1999 as a senior PC analyst. 2 years later, in 2001, Ms. Zhang received a master's in computer information systems from Baruch College. Working in the Richmond court system for the past 21 years, she has been involved in multiple large-scale changes that took place. In 2015, Ms. Zhang supervised the move of the IT department as well as technological systems from 18 Richmond Terrace to 26th Center Street. Most recently, in November 2020, Ms. Zhang was honored to receive recognition for her role in the continued high-tech operation of the New York State court system during the current global public health crisis. The implementation of such technology will forge enhanced unification of electronic court systems statewide, as well as support the ability of judicial and non-judicial staff to work virtually. Ms. Zhang states, I look forward to seeing what the future may hold for me in the court system. Thank you. Ms. Zhang?
Thank you, Nadine. Hi, everyone. As a system and network engineer with the Richmond Supreme Court, and I'm here to talk about what a career in the court IT department is. The primary responsibility.
Lee, it sounds like your mic is a little low. You may want to get a little closer.
Yes, sorry.
Much
Okay.
better.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the primary responsibility for the IT department is to support the computer network systems in the core system. This means that we assist with most computer-related problems. Like we are the people that you call when your computer crashes. So, like our daily role focus on three things. The first thing is to maintain and troubleshooting pre-existing technology. For example, the courtroom audio and video system is one of the technologies we support. The second one is rolling out new technology and update. This means that installing, operating, troubleshooting, and introduce new programs and update. This also include designing and programming new in-house applications using programs like SharePoint and FileMakers. The third thing we do is teaching other court employees how to use the new technology. Yeah, to perform all these functions, we are not only required to know computer and their related technology, but also we need to have the ability to think critically. The solution to problems found in IT are not always written in a handbook. In addition to critical thinking skills, communication skills, and patience are always very useful things to have, because like people always, you as our users as always has different level of technology literacy, and some of the technologies just are not that user friendly. And IT department is quite important to the daily operation of the court. This has been especially true during the time of quarantine, because everyone needs to be able to work from home for the sake of public health. And without the IT department support, working from home is almost impossible. Okay, that's it for the IT department. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Zhang. Yes, absolutely. For those of us who are not technologically adept, that is critical. So our next speaker is Jordana Mata. As a Bronx native and the proud daughter of Mexican immigrants, Jordana Mata serves as an interpreter in court proceedings for much of the large Spanish-speaking population in her community. With a bachelor's degree from Hunter College and a master's degree from Rutgers University, both in translation and interpretation, she brings a wealth of skills and knowledge into her work. As a court interpreter, Jordana is driven in her work because she offers Spanish speakers at a fair due process in the judicial system by bridging a language barrier and thereby allowing litigants to make informed decisions. As language is ever changing, Jordana works to hone and sharpen her skills by regularly participating in training and reinforcement workshops. Ms. Mata?
Yes, hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Wonderful. My name is
Yes.
Jordana Mata. Thank you. My name is Jordana Mata, and I am a Spanish court interpreter, I'm sorry. I work in Bronx Family Court. I've been working there for 4 years now. And growing up, I grew up in a bilingual environment. My parents at home spoke Spanish, and in school, we learned English. And for me, it was important. I got a first taste of what it was to be an interpreter at a very young age. I'm sure some of you can relate. I grew up interpreting for my mom or my dad at the
Hi,
pharmacy.
sorry to interrupt you. You might just have to move your camera down a drop. It looks like it's kind of a little high. We just see your forehead.
Do you see me better? Can
Yep,
you hear me?
That's better. You might want to back up a few more inches.
There?
Angle it down a drop more.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's much better. There you go. Perfect.
So I got a first taste of being an interpreter at a very young age. I remember interpreting for my parents at the pharmacy, or filling out applications to receive public assistance. And for me, that was very important. And I didn't understand how much it would impact my life. Fast forwarding into my college years, I majored both in Spanish and in English. And I remember interpreting and standing in front of my classmates, and it was very nerve-wracking. And those were the years where I used everything that I could to train as an interpreter and as a translator. And when I finally got the opportunity to work in Bronx Family Court, I jumped out of excitement. I was working in the community that watched me grow up and gave me the opportunity to be able to bridge that language barrier, that language gap that exists in our communities, especially in the Bronx. There's a large Spanish-speaking community, and unfortunately, they do find themselves in a situation where their livelihoods are at stake. In family court, we deal from all range of cases. We deal from child support to custody matters to orders of protection. We deal with the more serious cases like child abuse and child neglect. And being able to help the Spanish-speaking community make an informed decision, regardless of what the outcome is. At that very moment, my job is to interpret everything that's being said in a courtroom, from English into Spanish and Spanish into English. And the role that we play as interpreters is a very crucial and vital role that we do in the court proceedings. And for me, being able to contribute back to the community, it's something that I won't change. And I'm very appreciative, and I feel rewarded because it's a profession that aligns with my values. And for me, that's the most exciting thing, to show up to work and know that I'm serving the greater good by helping and giving back to the community. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ms. Mata. Yes, serving the greater good. And let me just interject for just 1 minute, because we're not going to have time to go through, like a historical perspective of, let's say, diverse folks in the courts. But when I was doing some research, I did come across an interesting fact. The first Hispanic judge in New York was Emilio Nunes. He was first appointed as a city magistrate in 1951, and then he was elected to the New York State Supreme Court in 1962. He, believe it or not, he started as an interpreter in the courts. So you can go anywhere. The sky is the limit. All right.
Yes,
So,
yes, and
yes, Jordana, you want to say something?
no, definitely. I think once you're in the court system, there's always that ability to escalate and to go up the labor ladder. If you realize that there's another profession that you took a liking on, you can definitely go for that. That's the beauty of working for the court system, that if you are interested in a different career, you can always go for that, and the opportunities are there.
Yes, thank you. I was muted, sorry. Okay, our next speaker is Kelly Swayze. Ms. Swayze is a senior court reporter assigned to Richmond County Supreme Court. After graduating from the Citone Institute in 1990, she worked as a freelance court reporter until joining New York Civil Court in 1997. In 2000, Kelly took the promotional exam and transferred to King's Supreme Court. Kelly spent most of her Supreme Court career in Kings County until 2017, when she transferred to Richmond County Supreme Court. During her career, Kelly has achieved various professional licenses, including the Registered Professional Reporter and Certified Real-Time Court Reporter licenses. Ms. Swayze.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And thank you for coming to our career day. It's really exciting to be able to speak about something that I'm very passionate about. Court reporting is a wonderful profession. It takes a lot, of course, of training, but once you go through school, it's very supportive and it's a really great career option. Someone came to my high school and presented, and that's how I became interested in it. And after doing freelancing for about 7 years, I decided to come to the court system because it was such a great opportunity to be able to work with judges and attorneys and just the whole staff as a whole. But what we do, we are the guardians of the record. We have to make sure that we get an accurate record of the proceedings that are happening, and we are able to reproduce it if anyone needs to order it for appeals or for whatever they may need. And also, we have other specialties as far as being able to offer CART services for people who are hard of hearing or deaf, so that hearing impaired people may be able to participate in their proceeding, and also sit as jurors. So that's also another avenue that is available, as well as we offer if there's trial and counsel need the transcript the following morning, we offer daily overnight services. So what we try to do is just provide and just have support of everything that the transcript may whatever the people need. So that's what we do. We're considered guardians of the record, and it's very important that we maintain our records and provide an accurate transcript.
Thank you, Ms. Swayze. And just in doing the transcribing trials and things of that nature, you also do readbacks, correct?
We do. If there are objections or if there's an interruption, if someone requests for us to read back, then we'll read back the question, the answer, whatever you may need. If during a trial, during the jury deliberations, they may send a note that they need portions of the witnesses read back to them that occurred during the trial if they need to refresh their recollection. So we we also do that. We'll read back portions of jury trials and during testimony, if a witness doesn't remember the question, we'll read that back as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next speaker is Major Clement. Major Mack is a member of the Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission. He has 20 years of experience in the Bronx Criminal Court, serving as a lieutenant and executive officer. His responsibilities include ensuring the safety of judges, staff, and members of the public, and furthering the goals of Chief Judge DeFiore's Excellence Initiative. Major Mack.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to first start and say I was born and still live in the Bronx currently, and I'm currently the commanding officer of Bronx Criminal Court, and I'm in charge of approximately 125 officers, and I oversee the day-to-day security operations of criminal court here in the Bronx. When I first became a court officer, or actually when I first applied for the test, I didn't know what a court officer did. As I went through the process, I found that a court officer is a law enforcement peace officer, and you're in charge of providing security and maintaining order within the courts statewide. Now, as we look at the slide here, to apply for the test, you have to meet these requirements. Basically 20 and a half years old at the time of appointment, a citizen, resident of New York State, valid driver's license, and legally able to purchase and carry a firearm. It's very important. There's no maximum age for court officer. Unlike other law enforcement jobs, court officer, there's no cutoff limit as far as age. I've had officers come on to the job as old as 40 years old or what have you. Also, a tidbit, there's no college requirement at the present time. So this is a job available to you out of high school as long as you meet the qualifications. To be a court officer, you must be comfortable dealing with the public, helpful, informative, understanding, while remaining impartial and professional. If you feel you meet these qualifications, the slide currently basically lays out what you have to do. Of course, it's a civil service job, and there's an entry-level test. Once you pass the test with, I would suggest, an 80 or above, it's a competitive job, and every 4 years or so, a test is given, and over 100,000 people apply. There's a physical requirement. That means actually physical. There's no app for running or push-ups or sit-ups. You have to be physically fit. There's a psychological requirement, a test that is taken, and an interview that is given by a psychologist. There's a background investigation where your entire background from the beginning of your working history all the way through the current time is checked. There's a medical exam that consists of heart tests, blood pressure check, also a drug test. All of this must be done before you proceed into the academy. If you score a high enough grade and you canvassed and you go through all of the steps. If you can change the next slide. Okay, the good part, salary and benefits. As you can see, the current hiring rate starts at $51,000 and can go up to $81,000. So that's the current hiring rates at the present time. This is a list of the benefits that the job offers. 20 days paid vacation, 27 paid vacation days after 7 years. Holidays, an important tidbit about holidays, since your main job is to protect judges and court staff and court personnel, you work when they work, and when they don't work, you don't work. You're off Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. All of these are holidays that you have the benefit of having off being a court officer. Unlike various other law enforcement agencies that work on a wheel or overnight tours, you basically can opt to have a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday work week. If you can change to the next slide. Advancement through the ranks. I started as an officer and moved my way up through the ranks. Each rank, you receive a higher pay. Some are tests like a sergeant and lieutenant are promotional, captain and above are interview process, as long as with the chief rank. I'm also part of the SRT team, which basically is the court SWAT team, if you may, which handles anything from judicial protection threats. When a judge gets a threat, you may have to sit on his or her house. You may have to drive them to work, things like that. Any kind of crowd issues, any kind of unruly mobs. These are things that require extra training and a specialized team that you can be a part of. That also helps you in, fulfilling yourself in the job, and also if you look for any kind of promotional steps. Next slide. Oh, sorry. In short, I would say court officer is one of the best kept secrets. If you would like to have a 9-to-5 job, basically with opportunity for growth, great pay, great benefits, I also concur. I've had court officers that have went on to become attorneys, run their own business. I know judges that were court officers. So it's definitely, it opens you up to a variety of jobs in the court. Thank you.
Thank you, Major Matt. Now that sounded real good. I mean, really exciting as well. Next life. Okay, so our next speaker is Porter Kirkwood Esquire. Mr. Kirkwood assumed the duties of district executive for the 6th Judicial District on January 24th, 2019. Prior to that appointment, he served as a court attorney referee in the 6th District. His career in public service began in 1996 as a staff attorney for the Delaware County Department of Social Services. In 2013, he was appointed to the position of Delaware County Attorney. He is a graduate of SUNY Stony Brook and the Hofstra University School of Law. And he's also professor of law at Syracuse University College of Law.
No, that's not me. That's somebody else's.
Oh, sorry.
You finished mine after Hofstra Law.
Okay. All right. That's all right. Okay. So with that, Mr. Kirkwood, District Executive Kirkwood.
Thank you, Nadine. I want to welcome you all and echo all the other presenters. So welcome to this Career Day program. One of the things that I was thinking about in this is that it's very nice. Most of the speakers that you've heard from talk to you about are from downstate. I'm currently in the 6th Judicial District, which is upstate New York, the Southern Tier and Finger Lakes region. And I want to remind you all that the New York State court system is a statewide system. It goes from Long Island all the way up to the Canadian border, all the way out west to Buffalo and Erie County. It's a huge state, and these opportunities that you're hearing about today are available statewide. So those of you that aren't so interested, particularly as Major Mack was talking about the court officer positions, and I'll make a plug for the 6th Judicial District. It's much easier to get in some of these other districts than it is to get in down in the city, and very often people will start off in other parts of the state and work their way back to those parts of the state. As district executive, the district office is responsible for implementing and enforcing policies and rules and the directives of the chief judge and the chief administrative judge, as well as the deputy chief administrative judge for the courts outside of New York City. The district execs, my job, my direct supervisor is the local administrative judge. 6th Judicial District Administrative Judge is Eugene Fawnin. And we're responsible for the day-to-day operations of the courts in our district. As you saw on the prior slide, we have 10 counties in our district. The 3 biggest are Broome County, where my office sits, which has the city of Binghamton, Chemung County, which has the city of Elmira, and Tompkins County, which has the city of Ithaca. In our office, we're really responsible for supporting all of the court operations throughout the district and in all of those 10 counties. I'll just quickly talk to you about the way my office is broken up. There are really 6 departments that go out and help all throughout the district. One is the law department, and you're going to hear later from one of the court attorney referees. We have a law department where the court attorney referees go out and help the judges throughout the district. We have our security unit, and the chief of security here is responsible for all of the court officers throughout the 6th district in all 10 counties. You heard earlier from the IT folks. We have an IT unit, our automations unit, we call it here, which takes care of all of the hardware and software and all the computer problems for all 500 plus employees, 56 state paid judges. We have 174 town and village justices that we support as well. And so our operations unit, our IT unit, is very busy, particularly now with COVID and trying to get everybody up and using Teams and doing virtual court appearances and all of the various operational pieces that need to be done there. We also have a fiscal unit. Our budget here in the 6th Judicial District is about $50 million a year, and we have a fiscal unit that's responsible for overseeing the expenditure of those funds each year. And then, of course, we have our human resources function, which is responsible for helping all of our employees get hired or when they're ready to retire or their health insurance and all of those kinds of things. So my office is responsible for having people available in each of those areas to go out into the district and help and support. That's what I talk to my staff about constantly, is that our job is to support the rest of the court system. We're here to help them get their jobs done, whether it's getting, the buildings fixed, getting the heat on, closing if you've got a snow emergency, getting the computers running, whatever needs to be done. It's our job to make sure it gets done on a daily basis. And you have the opportunity to work in any of those areas anywhere in the state. And so once you're into the system, it is a large system, as somebody said earlier, and you should take advantage of that. And we look forward to having you come. I'll just mention one other thing. One of the other wonderful parts of my job is to interview people for jobs in the system. Particularly when people are moving from lower level jobs into supervisory and management positions. I get the opportunity to supervise them and help folks move along in their careers. And that's just a wonderful opportunity that I'm thankful for each day. So we want you to come and join us here in the court system. And please, if you have any questions, my information will be in this packet. Please feel free to contact us. Thank you.
This is wonderful, District Executive Kirkwood. Thank you so much. We all learned so much about the beautiful Finger Lakes area and all that you do for us. All right, our next speaker is Lauren Jones, Esquire. Lauren Jones is the ADR coordinator for New York City Surrogate Courts. ADR stands for Alternative Dispute Resolution. Immediately preceding this role, she was a principal court attorney in New York County's Commercial Division for the Honorable Eileen Branston, followed by the Honorable Joel Cohen. So she worked for 2 judges previously. While in those roles, she drafted hundreds of decisions and also focused her efforts on conducting settlement conferences and mediation. Prior to joining the court system, Ms. Jones was an award-winning litigation partner at a large national law firm. She is currently the co-chair of the Metropolitan Black Bar Association's inaugural ADR section. She's treasurer for the Association of Law Secretaries for Supreme and Surrogate Court Judges, and also a commissioner on our commission, the Franklin H. Williams Commission, appointed by Chief Judge DeFiore in 2018. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Duke University and a JD, Juris Doctor degree from Brooklyn Law School. She lives in Brooklyn, New York, with her husband and young daughter. Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones, are you muted?
I am muted. I'm so sorry. Thank you,
Okay.
Dee, for that introduction. And I only have 5 minutes or so I'm going to try to speak quickly. One thing most people think about when they think about law or lawyers is a courtroom, trials, arguing, and being before a judge. A bit like what you see on TV, right, with Law and Order and The Good Wife or any other legal shows. I was the same way. Even in law school, I learned how to be in court. I learned how to try a case. But you didn't really understand that there was another way to deal with lawsuits, right? There was a way to actually keep them out of court. And then there was even a way that once they got to court, to have them resolved outside of court. So when I was younger and I first started my legal career, I was a young associate. On the very first day of work, I was told, follow the managing partner and go to a mediation. I was like, okay, a mediation, sure, I'll do that. And what was really cool was that I got to see firsthand that, just as I just said, right, that there was more than one way to settle a case, to resolve a case and to make your clients happy. And for that, it really clicked for me, that there was another tool that lawyers could use besides waiting for a judge to deal with your case. Because what you'll hear later is sometimes it takes a really long time for a judge to deal with your case because judges have more than one cases to deal with, right? And so if you think about it, though, mediation is something that's been around our lives forever. The first time you saw it probably was when you were a little kid in the playground, right? You wanted to use the swing, someone else wanted to use the swing, and either a teacher or another older student came in between and said, hey guys, let's reach a compromise. You can use the swing first, and then you can use the swing afterwards, or whatever. And that really, in its most basic form, is mediation. So what do I do now with mediation? Well, I try to get as many people as I can that are currently in court fighting to agree to take a break from the fighting and try mediation. Try going to a completely different setting, sitting around a table and talking about whatever issues are going on and seeing if they can come together to some creative solution. And if you do it, great. You save money, you save time, and you're able to go on with your day. And if you can't settle it for whatever reason, you can return right back to court and finish fighting it out. And so I do that specifically in surrogates court. What's surrogates court? Surrogates court in its most basic form is the court that you go to when a family member dies and the rest of the family members want to figure out who gets that family member's things, who can make certain decisions about that family member's estates or their valuables. I work with 7 different judges, and I try to help them figure out which cases of theirs would be best for this out-of-court resolution. And so if you like dealing with people and you like helping people resolve their problems, and ideally seeing everyone in a conflict walk away happy, dispute resolution or mediation might be a great career for you. And you don't have to be a lawyer, by the way, to be a mediator. I happen to be a lawyer, but you do not have to be a lawyer to be a the other interesting thing about dispute resolution is sometimes you know what you're signing up for because you were asked, do you want to go to mediation? And you say, yes, I do want to go. But that's not always the case. Sometimes people say, look, if you want to work with me, you don't have a choice. My terms are that we're going to agree to not go to court, and you have to do that. And an example of where that happened was with Jay-Z, right? Jay-Z 2 years ago had a problem with a clothing company, and the only way he could resolve it was by going through what's called arbitration or another form of dispute resolutions, right? So even Jay-Z couldn't go to court to sue about what it was because he already agreed to keep it out of it. All of that is called dispute resolution. And you guys, a lot of you, your family, your friends have also agreed to dispute resolution without even knowing it, right? Have you bought a ticket to a basketball game or a baseball game? Yep, believe it or not, if you flip over that ticket, it will say, more likely than not, you have agreed to keep this out of court. Basically, I'm kind of simplifying the language, and have agreed to go to mediation or arbitration or whatever it is. Every time you download an app, right? And there's all this fine print, Apple's updated their terms, and you just like click, 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 click. I agree, I agree. Oftentimes contained within those fine print are also directions that say you have agreed that you are going to keep this out of court, you are going to mediate this, and you are going to find another way to resolve this before not going before a judge. And so the next time you see one of those agreements, I invite you, do a little Control F, find, search, and type in the word arbitration. Type in the word mediation. I think you'd be really surprised at what you actually just agreed to. And just to finish up with this slide is saying, the process of mediation is also really great and different from court because it's confidential. It's less formal, it's less stressful. The clients, the people who really actually are litigating, the people whose issues it really is, they actually can come to the table and say, look, let me tell you what's really going on. When you're in court, oftentimes, the clients don't come to court. It's the lawyers representing them. And so the clients sometimes feel like they don't get their day in court. In mediation, they certainly do. So any other questions? I'm happy to answer them later. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. A lot about mediation. We all have to be reminded of that sometimes, that we're agreeing to these things without even knowing about it. And as Lauren indicated, she works with 7 different judges for surrogates court because there are 7 surrogate courts in the city of New York. All right,
Actually,
so
5 courts,
right,
with 7 different judges.
right, and 7 different judges, 2 in each of 3 counties, is it, and 1 in 1 county?
2 in New York County,
Right.
2 in Brooklyn, Kings County, and then Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island all have 1.
1 each. Okay, great. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. This is an opportunity for you to take a little break, have a little water, coffee. We're going to view the video of a courtroom tour at this point.
Hi students, I'm Judge Derek Meineke of the 44th District Court. I'm excited to be able to take you on a tour of the courthouse, a virtual tour of the courthouse today, as part of our Justice 101 tour. As you can see, I'm sporting a new hairstyle, which is kind of like my old hairstyle, except so much more. Anyway, I thought it was a good idea to start our tour right here in my courtroom, so you can get an idea of why the courtroom is set up the way that it is, what are the different parts of the courtroom, and why do they exist. Students, let's start first with my bench. This is where the judge sits. It is, in most courtrooms, set off from the rest of the courtroom by being elevated. The term bench really doesn't make a whole lot of sense now because it sort of just looks like a big desk. But traditionally, judges used to sit in long benches, and I'm glad, for comfort's sake, that seems to have changed significantly, at least for us district court judges for sure, that we get to sit at an actual desk. As you can see, the view from the bench is pretty good. You can see all areas of the courtroom. And let's go through each of these areas of the courtroom so you can understand what these places are and what their purpose is for the functioning of a courtroom. So let's move over to the left. Right here, this is where my court reporter sits and my clerk sits here. The court reporter is going to record everything that's going on in the courtroom. As we pan around, I want you to take a look and see just how many microphones there are in the courtroom. Well, that's because everything that happens in court must be recorded so that if anybody wants to challenge or has concerns about something that happened and they want an accurate record, everything that happens in this courtroom is recorded. Now, each of these microphones also are amplified, so if we have a witness who is very soft-spoken and we need to hear what they have to say, the microphones do provide some amplification. My clerk sits right next to the court reporter, and the clerk usually isn't sitting in her chair. My clerk is always running around making sure that people are checking in order to how we call the cases. You can also see we have a TV. And no, I do not watch basketball games. As much as I love sports, I do not watch basketball games on that TV. That TV has a purpose. We use it for 2 different reasons. One, we use it to connect with other places all across the state. We might have an individual who has a court case here, but they're in jail in Lansing or in jail in Traverse City. And in order to do the court case, we need to use a video connection. And so we use that television to do just that. Also, if we have a trial and somebody has a video to play of something that happened on the scene, we can plug in a computer to that TV and play it. And it makes it very easy for the jury to see it on a big screen like that rather than on a little laptop. Right here you see the witness chair. That's where a witness will come in and sit and testify to the facts of a case. They must testify truthfully, otherwise they're in danger of perjury charges. As we continue, you can see there's a large area in the back where individuals from the public can come and watch the cases. That's called the gallery. And the gallery is separated from the rest of the courtroom by, as you can see, there's a ledge right across the middle of the courtroom that's referred to as the bar. And I'll explain that in a little bit. Right here, you'll see the defense table. That's where the defendant in a civil case or the defendant in a criminal case will sit with their lawyer and be able to argue the cases from the podium there. There's also a table located just next to the podium, to the right of the podium in the screen. That's where the plaintiff in a civil case or a prosecutor sits. And they'll argue from that table or from the podium. Finally, you see here's the jury box. Now you might wonder to yourself, well, why is it that the plaintiff gets to sit so close to the jury box? That would seem like it's an advantage. Well, the reason for that is the plaintiff in each case, both a civil case and a criminal case, bear the burden of proof. They've got to prove to the jury in a criminal case beyond a reasonable doubt, in a civil case beyond a preponderance of the evidence, which is, like I described it, as 51 to 49%. But they have to prove their case, and if they don't, then the jury will come back not guilty in a criminal case or for no cause of action in a civil case. Now, if you notice here, there's a lot of chairs in this jury box. We don't have 30 jurors. All right, the reason that we have so many chairs right now is because we were expecting Justice 101 classes to come through. And unfortunately, with the closing of the court's doors, we haven't had the chance to have those students through. Now, if this was a jury trial, we would simply have our normal chairs set up, spread apart, and it would be 12 chairs set up. Even though in a district court, we only have jury trials with 6 people, we do have room for 12 jurors in case the circuit court ever needed us to help them out. We could do a circuit court jury trial because a circuit court case, a felony case, is going to require 12 jurors. But for our district court cases, it's only 6. This is where the security officer station is, and so that he can be ready to immediately react to anything that goes wrong in the courtroom. Students, this area is known as the bar. This is the barrier between the gallery or public area of the courtroom and the area where the parties and the attorneys conduct the business of the court. Now, that is why when an individual takes the test, the bar examination, passes the test to become a lawyer, they are described as having passed the bar and now can come in to this area and argue before the court as a lawyer. Students, if you'll notice to my left and to my right, there are flags in the courtroom, and they are placed there for specific reasons. If you notice, the tallest flag that we have here is our United States flag. And the flags then descend in height according to the descent from our federal government to our state government, as featured by our state flag, to our county government by the Oakland County flag, and finally to our city government, Royal Oak. Although, students, I am still missing a Berkeley flag. So I need to get a hold of Mayor Turbrack and see if we can get that fixed so we can get our Berkeley flag in here as well. All right, that concludes the tour of the courtroom. So let's move on to the tour of the rest of the courthouse.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. The one thing that I will tell you is that video is not a video of a New York State courtroom. However, the majority of courtrooms throughout the state, throughout the country, look very similar, and they're set up very similar. And the piece about the flag, for those of you who military experience or are veterans, it's extremely important and crucial for some folks to have their flags positioned just right when they are seated at the bench. Okay, so our next speaker, Adrian Williams, Esquire, is a longtime employee of New York State Court. Williams started her career in the courts as a court attorney in New York County Supreme Court Law Department in the Commercial Division, and thereafter became a law secretary to a Kings County Supreme Court justice. She has also worked in the law department in Kings and Queens County Supreme Court. Ms. Williams now works in the Suffolk County Supreme Court as a court attorney referee, which is a quasi-judicial position in the law department. She is also a New York State certified mediator in family law, a small claims arbitrator, and a hearing officer in the Small Claims Assessment Review Part. Ms. Williams was appointed to serve on the Franklin H. Williams Commission in 2010 by Chief Administrative Judge Ann Fowl. She is the current president of the Amistad Long Island Black Bar Association and a past president of the Court Attorneys Association of New York City. Ms. Williams is also a member of the Suffolk County Bar Association and the Suffolk County Women's Bar Association. She is a graduate of Howard University School of Law. And interestingly, I didn't know this, while attending law school, she studied abroad at the University of Nairobi in Kenya, Africa. Ms. Williams is a veteran of the United States Air Force, and she is the proud mother of one daughter who, after obtaining her MBA in 2017, is now living her dream, traveling the world and playing professional basketball. Ms. Williams?
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our career day in the courts. We used to do this live. I did several of them when I worked in the city in Kings County. It was always an exciting time. So hopefully one day, again, we won't be virtual. Everyone will be able to come and actually have a visit in the courts and talk to all the people who you've been hearing from. You will be able to talk to them. So I'm a court attorney referee now. I started out as a court attorney, back in the 90s. I was admitted to the bar. The judge was talking about passing the bar. I was admitted to the bar. I worked in a large law firm for a few years on Park Avenue in New York City. And after that, I decided I wanted to have a different life in practicing law, so I joined the court system. So as a court attorney referee, there's no test, there's an interview process. You have to check online, or there are a lot of services at the chief to see if there are positions available as a court attorney in the court system. The court attorneys serve throughout New York City, Long Island. All 62 counties have court attorneys. 62 counties in New York have court attorneys. So you start out a court attorney, you see the salary there, that's the starting salary actually for a court attorney. You stay as a court attorney for 2 years, then you automatically get a promotion to a senior court attorney, and 4 years later, you automatically get a promotion to associate court attorney. During all that time, you get increments in your salary, so your salary doesn't stay the same. I think actually the starting salary for a court attorney is about $52,000 now. And in the court attorney series, you can go up to about $150,000. As a court attorney referee, you start out as a little bit more, probably around 60, 70. And I'm saying about because it changes. Generally, when we don't have COVID and there's no issues with the economy, we usually get raises every couple of years, I'm sorry. So I'm saying about, those are about the salaries. If you check now on the court website, the salaries might be different. So as a court attorney referee, you start out at about in the 60s and you go up to about $160,000. And that changes depending on how much raise we get. So as a court attorney, you do a lot of reading, a lot of researching, a lot of writing. So if that's what your interests are, this would be a good job for you. You learn about every area of the court. I happen to work in the civil court, but you can work in family court as a court attorney. You can work in civil court. You can work in the criminal court. You can work in the surrogates court. You could work for a judge, even though it's a little bit different in your regular day-to-day activities. It's about the same kind of job. As a court attorney, you could be assigned to a judge, you could be assigned to the law department, you could be assigned to mediation after you take the course to be a mediator, you can be assigned to be a mediator, you can be assigned to be an arbitrator. So there's a lot of different jobs you can do as a court attorney referee. I'll just tell you a little bit about my journey. I graduated from high school and wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I don't have any lawyers in my background. My family, we're just normal people, no lawyers, no judges. As a matter of fact, like many of you, I didn't know any judges or lawyers before I graduated from high school. After I graduated from high school, not sure what I wanted to do, I went into the military. Stayed in the military for about 6 years, and then I still not sure what I wanted to do. I worked in the insurance industry for a little while. And then I don't know, my journey somehow from meeting people and talking to people took me to law school. I was in law school for 4 years, 3 years, I'm sorry, 3 years, and graduated. And that's when, if you do very well in law school, you get a lot of interviews from large law firms. They come and interview. The DA's office comes to interview. And if you do very well, you can get a job straight out of law school. And I became an associate attorney in one of the larger law firms. So, you know, there's no direct route to becoming a lawyer, becoming a court attorney. There's many other things you could do. I worked in insurance. I was in the military. I taught for a little while. I did a whole lot of other things. It's not like if you don't know what you want to do as soon as you get out of high school, you can't become an attorney. And if you do, if your career path in your mind, that's what you wanted to, becoming an attorney in the court system is a great opportunity, because you get to have so many different experiences. You learn so many different areas of the law. You get to know other judges, other lawyers. It's a good networking opportunity, especially if you get involved in the bar associations. And okay, I hope you guys can hear me, because I'm getting, says that my connection is not good.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. So it's just not one route you can take. You can be in other fields and then decide you want to become a lawyer. There's no test to come into the court system. It's an interview process. So, I mean, it's been fun. It's been fun for me. I've been in the court system for 20 years. I know people who started out as court aides, court officers, court reporters, court clerks, who are now attorneys working in the court system. So it's a great opportunity. It's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people. And I mean, fun as a relative word. It's not like we're having fun jumping up and down. It's interesting work. We're not having parties. It's very interesting work. And you get to meet people like you've heard from today. Being on the commission, you get to participate in other activities. If you're in bar associations, you get to participate in a whole lot of different other activities. And being in the court system allows you the time to do that, because generally we work a 9-to-5 job. When I worked in a law firm, we could work 14, 15, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. The court system is not like that. So if you're in your mind, you have the idea of going to law school, this is a terrific way to get started. And actually, you can get started in this career and end in this career in the court system. You never have to leave.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Williams. So as you stated, and as Porter Kirkwood stated, and Lauren Jones stated, and other panelists stated, it's a good work-life balance working in the court system, isn't it?
Yes, it's great. When I was in a law firm, there was no balance. You worked, and you worked, and you worked. But in the court system, you definitely can have a life. You can have your vacations. You saw the vacation and benefits are the same as you saw on the screen from the court officer. You have plenty of time off, and time off that you can use.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next speaker is the Honorable Michael C. Lopez. Judge Lopez grew up in a small town about halfway between Buffalo and Rochester, New York. He attended SUNY Rockport, studying political science and history. After law school at the University of Wisconsin, he moved to Bogota, Colombia, to work for a Jesuit human rights organization. Another interesting fact. In October 1996, Judge Lopez returned to the United States following the murder of his friend and human rights lawyer, Jose Geraldo Cardona. Judge Lopez continued activism surrounding the United States intervention in Colombia until he began work at the Monroe County Public Defender's Office in 1998. During 20 years as a public defender, he handled a major felony caseload and supervised younger staff. Before his election to the Rochester City Court bench, Judge Lopez was highly engaged in the Rochester's progressive activist community, but closest to his heart are the hundreds of city youth he coached and mentored over 15 years with Flower City Soccer. His three sons, Nicholas, Cameron, and Miguel, are in their 20s, and he lives in Northwest Rochester with his wife, Erica, who was a Monroe County probation officer. Judge Lopez, thank you.
Hello, everybody. At this point, I would go around the room and try to wake everybody up, but I can't see any of you, and you're outside of my reach. But I would have to echo what Ms. Williams was saying, is that there is no cookie cutter way to getting towards any of these jobs, and you certainly shouldn't pigeonhole yourself into that you have to do this or have to do that to get to where you want to go. Well, and you might start down one path and you be exposed to other things that interest you that might send you on another path. When I graduated from high school from this small rural town near Attica, I thought I wanted to be a sports writer. But when I got to college, it was the political science and history classes that interested me most. And then during that process, I didn't even know about going to law school. I didn't know that that would be in my future. But professors pointed me in that direction and suggested I go to the University of Wisconsin. And it was at the University of Wisconsin that I met people who were involved in human rights in Columbia. And so off to Columbia I went, partly because my Spanish was terrible at the time and I wanted to learn Spanish. And so each step along the way, I thought I had one vision of my future. But when life happens and you learn new things, it causes you to adjust your position. So while it's important to, there's this saying from the song that I remember, plan your work and work your plan. I mean, you have to have long-term goals, but you have to have short-term flexibility. When I came back from Bogota, I knew I wanted to be a public defender. And I ended up working as a public defender for 20 years. And it wasn't until about halfway through that I even remotely considered running for judge one day. But again, I became exposed to people who encouraged that route and planted that seed and kept it as a long-term possibility. And here I am. I got elected 2 years ago. Now, the specific role that I play in our court system is of a local city court judge, and we're called a court of local jurisdiction because we're sort of low on the totem pole, I guess. We do civil work here, landlord, tenant, things like that. But I primarily do criminal work, which is my main area of experience. And so in a local court, we handle primarily misdemeanors and violations. We will also arraign people on felony charges as well and schedule and conduct preliminary hearings, which is the very first step in a felony prosecution. As a matter of fact, I'm in the intake part right now, part one, we call it up here in Rochester. And that's where we review arrest warrants, the paperwork to see if the paperwork is sufficient to issue a warrant for a person's arrest on a misdemeanor. When people come into court, we conduct the bail reviews and the arraignment, and it's through that process where we make determinations of whether the person is likely to come back to court. And so commonly, some people think that bail is a form of pre-punishment. But key to our system is the presumption of innocence. And so, if you start presuming a person is guilty, then that goes counterintuitive to what we're supposed to be doing. So we're supposed to presume the person is innocent even through the bail process. After we've gotten through that process, the city court judge basically oversees the prosecution of those cases that he or she has arraigned. And you schedule it out in such a fashion so that there could be a relatively quick prosecution of the case under the law, so as the person's speedy trial rights are not violated. And a big role of the judge is to make sure that the law is followed, both the statutory law and the case law, and the rules of evidence in the prosecution of a particular defendant. And that requires knowing what the law is in terms of the crime charged, knowing what, and reviewing the paperwork to make sure it's properly alleged. If it's not properly alleged, you can dismiss the case. And of course, scheduling hearings, because in order for a case to be prosecuted, there has to be proof, evidence. And sometimes evidence is collected by the police, and the defendant might say, hey, they collected that evidence against me illegally, or they violated my rights. And so you have to have a hearing on that, where you take testimony, usually from police officers, and decide whether or not that person's rights have been violated. And then after that, then the city court judge conducts the misdemeanor trial. It can be a jury trial, which would be 6 jurors, or it could be a bench trial where the judge both hears the case and decides the guilt or innocence of the defendant. And if it's a jury trial, one of the roles of the judge is to make sure that the prosecutor is following the law with regard to jury selection, which means making sure that the prosecutor is not trying to exclude people of color from being on the jury. And that's been a big problem in American history of all-white jurors sitting on cases for non-white defendants. And so that's a quick overview of what I do, but I just want to thank everybody for listening to all the presenters, and just whatever you think your goal is now, keep your eye on that prize, but be flexible, because there might be even better opportunities out there for you. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Judge Lopez. Our next speaker is the Honorable Yune Rosado. She is a Supreme Court judge in Bronx County. Judge Rosado graduated from SUNY Albany and obtained her Juris Doctor from Albany Law School in 1997, after which she began her career at the Criminal Defense Division of the Legal Aid Society as a staff attorney. Subsequently, she worked at the Children's Law Center representing children. She was a court attorney to several judges and became adjunct professor at Hostos Community College, where she continues to teach various law courses. In 2012, Justice Rosado was elected to the Civil Court, Bronx County, where she presided over custody cases in Bronx Family Court. She was elevated to acting Supreme Court Justice in 2017, where she presided over both civil and criminal matters. Then, in 2018, Justice Rosado was elected Justice of the Supreme Court and currently presides in the civil term in Bronx County. She serves on several committees, including the Gender Fairness Committee for the 12th Judicial District, the Matrimonial Curriculum Committee for the New York State Judicial Institute, and Justice Rosado is very active and is a member of a number of judicial and bar organizations, including the Dominican Bar Association, the Puerto Rican Bar Association, and the Bronx Women's Bar Association. And like Ms. Williams and Ms. Jones and myself, Justice Rosado and Judge Lopez and Porter Kirkwood are all commissioners with the Franklin H. Williams Commission. Justice Rosado, please.
Thank you, Nadine. That was amazing. Good afternoon, everyone. I really wish I could see your faces. One of the things I love doing as a judge is going to the schools and speaking to the children. One thing not touched by Nadine is that I was not born in this country. I was born in Dominican Republic, and I immigrated here when I was a young kid. We moved to the NYCHA houses of the Lower East Side. And so I say that to say that I didn't meet my first lawyer until I went to law school. And so I think that these programs are so important that you as students are meeting so many judges and lawyers now. With that said, I want you to know that I grew up in what we call the crack era, where, you know, drugs were really bad and people were really dying. And the relationship between the police and the community back then wasn't great. And so I knew at a very young age that I was going to be a lawyer and that I was going to represent my community and fight for my community. That said, I worked really hard on grades, and I want you to know that to be a lawyer, you have to go through 4 years of college, 3 years of law school, then take the bar exam, get admitted to the bar, and then you start your career. In order to be a judge, you have to have been a practicing attorney for 10 years. In New York City, you can either sit by the mayor as a judge, or you can be elected by the community as a judge. I happen to be elected by the amazing people of the Bronx to serve them. It is the highlight of my life to serve my community, and I'm very proud of that. Unlike Judge Lopez, I sit in the civil side of the justice system. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you get hit by a car and you want to sue that car because you have injuries, you come to my courthouse. If the doctor hurts you in some way and doesn't do the operation correct, then you come to my courtroom. And whereas in criminal court, you want retribution for the victim, or you want the accused to do time in jail, in civil court, you want money, or you want something to be performed. And so a judge is either elected or appointed. And a judge, really, like Ms. Jones said, is kind of like a glorified mediator. Our job is to resolve disputes between parties. Judges must be impartial. What does that mean? They must be fair. It cannot seem to anyone in the court system that you favor one side over the other. Our job as judges is to interpret the meaning, the significance, and the implications of the law. Now, you know, there's this myth out there through Law and Order and All Rise and Criminal Intent that the case is investigated, they find the defendant, he goes to trial, and he's convicted all in an hour. That is so not true. Like Ms. Jones said to you earlier, sometimes cases can take a long time. I recently tried a case in 2019 that was filed in 2012. And so the job of the judge is not only to be responsible to ensure that a jury at a trial follows the law, but before it gets to trial, that judge is trying to work with the parties to reach an agreement, to try to get a settlement so that people aren't waiting so long to get to their day at trial. I have had the distinct honor of being able to sit in family court, in criminal court, and in civil court. And sometimes, you know, the judge plays such a crucial role because sometimes the people that are upset, they just want to be heard. And once you hear them and give them that respect, the majority of the time, the case will settle. And so I want to just say one last thing before I conclude, because I really want to give the students the opportunity to ask us questions. Whatever job that you have in life, you can mold into the job that you eventually find. And so one of my best jobs throughout college and law school was being a waitress in Midtown Manhattan, right? And I started to pick up that as a waitress, I would get more tips if I got to know my clients, if I got to know how they like their coffee, how they like their steak, medium rare or medium well. Well, fast forward as a lawyer, I utilized that when I was picking my jurors. I memorized what the jurors said that it is that they did for a living. And when I did voir dire, I was able to remember that. And people want to be remembered. People want to know that you heard what they have to say. Fast forward to a judge. Being a waitress is interpersonal skills, and so is a judge, because a judge works with people all the time, regardless of the nature of the judge. I'm dealing with probation officers, court interpreters, court reporters, court assistants, ACS workers sometimes, social workers if I'm giving visitation. In the medical malpractice trial that I did, which lasted me 2 months and 2 days, I had to deal with 12 different doctors from 12 different backgrounds. Another thing that's required of a judge is that we have to have good character. When I was sworn in as a judge, I was told that you are a judge 24 hours a day, which means everyone's always watching you and you have to conduct yourself accordingly. So finally, what I want to say to all these amazing students that are on here with us today, the only person that can stop you from being who you want to be is the person that you see when you look in the mirror. Anyone that tells you that they are successful without ever having failed is lying to you. Failure leads to success. It's how you deal with that failure that determines where you end up in life. So you're going to fall off the bike many, many, many times. You're going to get back up. You're going to dust yourself off. You're going to get back on the bike and you're going to keep riding. I am a prime example of what education can do. How else can a kid from the project, an immigrant kid from the project, become a justice of the Supreme Court in Bronx County, but for education? I look forward to hearing from you in your questions. Thank you, Nadine.
Thank you so much, Justice Rosado. Yes, and I echo many of the points that you made, especially looking at each job that you have, no matter how small, as a potential critical part of your, you know, as your ability to evolve when you get to so-called bigger and better things. One of my former jobs was as a customer service representative. This is what we give customer service, good customer service, hopefully. Okay, so our next and final speaker panelist is the Honorable Kathy E. Davidson. Justice Davidson is the administrative judge of New York State's 9th Judicial District, which covers Dutchess, Orange, Putnam, Rockland, and Westchester counties. She is the first African American to hold this position in the 9th Judicial District. And prior to her current position, Judge Davidson was the supervising judge of the family courts in the 9th Judicial District. During her tenure, she spearheaded several initiatives, including the move to a district-wide paperless system and the launch of several outreach programs like Westchester County's first National Foster Day event in 2009. Judge Davidson was elected to Westchester County's Family Court in November 2003, designated acting Supreme Court Justice in 2007, and re-elected to the Family Court in 2013. Before her judicial career, she was a deputy county attorney with the Westchester County Law Department, worked with the juvenile rights practice of the Legal Aid Society in the Bronx, and served as an investigative attorney with the State Education Department, and also worked as a private practitioner specializing in family law. And Justice Davidson is also a commissioner with the Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission. Justice Davidson.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. I want to first echo all the wonderful comments that were made by my colleagues. They're powerful and really talking about can-do spirit. I'll sort of start from the backward, just a little bit of a background for me. I went to a small all-girls school in Boston called Simmons College. I majored in government and management. I went to law school at Howard University Law School, which is one of the historically Black colleges. It is the same school that our new Vice President, Kamala Harris, went. And I got a rich education there. Our dean, lead counsel for the civil rights cases, taught us to be instruments of social change. So first, let me just fast forward to being an administrative judge, and I'll go back a little bit to why I think that being a lawyer and a judge is so powerful. But a little bit about what is an administrative judge. Administrative judge is a judge who presides in the matter of the courts for 5 counties. I'm responsible to ensure that the 9th Judicial District, the 5 counties, operates efficiently, carries out the orders. We have an administrative office, and within my administrative office, we have job opportunities for human rights, for payroll, no, human resources, I'm sorry, payroll, fiscal budget, law department. I supervise over 1,100 people and have a budget of approximately 100 million. So that's a lot for the first woman and first African American. And that was the same as supervising judge. And I got my roots started off representing youth in Bronx Family Court. I think a career in the law department, in the legal career, is a powerful career. If you think about all that's happening in our world today, from challenging elections, and as judges, we're not permitted to make any comments on pending matters, but who's making those decisions? Who made a decision that DACA could be reinforced? It was a judge. Who made decisions for women's rights, for human rights? Lawyers were going before judges, independent judicial officers making decisions. You know, there was a great congressperson and a great pastor, Adam Clayton Powell, who used to have this speech which talked about what's the power in your hand. And as a lawyer, there's so many different things that you can do other than becoming a judge, but it gives you the power to change lives. And not only change lives, it allows you to change history. That's what Kamala Harris did. That's what all these powerful positions. And a law degree doesn't mean you have to go into court. But one thing I always knew when I was a young person, I wasn't even, if someone said to me over 30-something years ago that I would be sitting here talking to you, all I wanted to know, because I was a little hot-headed, that if I ever had to leave a job, I wanted to know that I could be able to hang out my shingle, open up my own business, and be able to stand on my own 2 feet. And that's the power of this. And I think I want to echo everything that every other judge and person has said. We don't get here because, number one, we checked off all the bells and whistles and we got here. We got here because we were determined. And no matter what happened, how it happened, we were going to make sure. And I also want to say something to you when you come into, you know, when you think about, there also has to be in the street, we have all these protests, but there also have to be people inside helping to make decisions. And one thing I knew, and I'll go back to when I was a young person in the civil rights movement, I was living someplace where there were not that many people of color in the school. So there were protests on the outside and I was sitting on the inside. And I knew back then at 10 years old that the fight is in both places. And you have the power and the choice to make those decisions. Where do I want to bring my advocacy? Where do I want to be a public servant? And that's the power of being a lawyer. That's the power of being a judge. And that comes from you show your good works. In the Bible, it says that if a person, their good works will open doors for them. You come appropriate to work, to whatever job in the court system, especially if you like the court system. Many people make careers out of because it's a public service job, but allows you to move up the ladder. There's places that you can go, and all that we've done, the judges that you've heard speak before myself, we're really just wanting to blaze a trail for you to follow behind us and do greater things and bigger things. And so that's really all the comments that I wanted to make today about how I got here, what was important. It wasn't easy. I was a single mother. I got divorced. My daughter was only 3, but I was still determined. I was pregnant in law school my 2nd year. And so I came home to see my mother. I ended up having a baby, went back and took my exam. So there's no obstacles. There are not any obstacles that can stop you to say, well, maybe I'll take a time out. There's no need to take any time out. And so all I want to do is encourage all of you to stick to your goals. And I time myself because as a judge, we have a tendency to talk. But in any event, thank you for allowing me to share my little bit of my life with you. I have to go do an adoption, so maybe after I do the adoptions, I'll be able to come back on. But thank you for allowing me to be part of this very, very important program. Enjoy the rest of the seminar.
Thank you, Justice Davis, and that was wonderful. Great encouragement. There's that word good again. Good works. Good works open doors. And you talked a little bit about civic engagement. So before we get to our Q&A, I know that I saw Dr. Betty Campbell, who is one of our commission members and commissioner of jurors. So Dr. Betty, if you would just chime in a bit about jury service, because a lot of our students on this seminar are probably close to being eligible, if not already eligible? Dr. Betty?
Hi there, good afternoon. Yes, wonderful, wonderful program. To our students who are in the audience, my name is Dr. Betty Campbell. I'm the Commissioner of Jurors for Wayne County. And as Nadine mentioned, many of you may be approaching your 18th birthday. And when you do, I want to extend an invitation to you to be a part of something great, and that's our justice system. Throughout this afternoon's program, you heard mention jurors and jury trials, and in New York State, you too can become a juror. So in my role as Commissioner of Jurors, I'm responsible for ensuring that any individual who has a matter before the state courts any individual who has a matter before the state courts can exercise their constitutional right for a jury trial. So the Commissioner of Jurors Office, we are responsible for ensuring that we have eligible and qualified jurors who are able to meet the operational needs of the courts. We send out summonses, although I like to reframe that and call them invitations to individuals for them to come for jury service. So again, as you're listening about our wonderful system and the opportunities for employment in our system, please consider when you turn 18 years of age to go to the newyorkjuror.gov website and complete a questionnaire, a juror qualification questionnaire, so you too may be able to serve and answer the call and serve as a juror in New York State. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. All right, so let's get to some of the questions. I saw a few in the chat. We have a question from Joanna Akpu. You can turn on your cameras now and unmute yourself if you like. So Joanna's question is there a certain age you have to be to get an internship? Anyone can answer that?
I don't think, I'm sorry. I think there's any age you can try to be an intern at any age. I have accepted 8th graders, high school students, law students. I suggest that, Johanna, if you know where you want to go, you write a cover letter and say, I'm interested of being a lawyer or a judge in the future. Is there a possibility that you can give me an internship? What's the worst that can happen, Johanna? They say no. There are so many judges. You keep going from judge to judge. You got a judge right here in the Bronx. If you send me a letter, I will absolutely open the courtroom for you.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Justice Rosado. Yes, that's absolutely. It's kind of on a case-by-case basis, depending on who you reach out to. We're pretty flexible, and during the pandemic, where we've kind of closed back down in terms of in person, but we're going to be opening up some virtual opportunities for students who want to have internships with judges and other personnel. All right, so I see another question here, Sarah Reichert. Sarah's question, what would you advise young students that are looking to work in the court system? So what piece of pertinent advice would you pick out of your presentation or expound on for students that's looking to work in the court system as a starting point?
I don't want to keep being the one to answer, but I'm going to tell you, not just the court system. When I was thinking about being a lawyer, I wanted to make sure that it's something I wanted to do. I was in college. I went and sat in criminal court on my breaks between class on a Saturday, just to see if that's something that I wanted to do. So if you're not sure what you want to do, or if you want to work into the court system, the courts are open to the public. Walk into a courtroom, ask questions. There's a lot of amazing people like Adrian and Nadine in our court system that are willing to help young people.
Yes, thank you. And if you don't ask, you don't get. So reaching out, asking questions, doing research. It can be anywhere in your community, in your church. That's how I started. I wanted to know, I mean, I was a lawyer, I was a journalist, I was working, but I wanted to know what it was like to work with the judge and to work in the court system. I had some courtroom experience doing cases in private practice, but I wanted a little bit more, and that's actually how I got my start. All right, so I have two questions, similar questions. Maya Thomas and Brianna Sekdev. They would like to know what are some colleges you all would recommend to help get into a career. I saw Lauren hand.
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, everywhere I go, I have to big up my college, which is Duke. I loved it. I think that's a great school. But across the board, and it really does not matter where you go to school. What matters is, how well you do in school, how many opportunities you expose yourself to, and to some extent your major, but really, honestly, it does not matter. I went to law school with people that were pre-med and thought they wanted to be a doctor. And then by the time they graduate, they realized, you know what, this isn't for me. I personally majored in political science, which is a very common major for people that are going to law school, because you learn about writing, you learn about reading, you learn about what's going on atmospherically in the world right now. But there's no wrong answer, honestly. What I would personally look for in a school is, can you afford it? Right? What kind of opportunities are there for you? I wouldn't go taking out some major big loans to try to go to some school because they have a big name that you think will get you in the door. Because let me tell you, if you go to that big school and you don't do well at that school, it's kind of a waste, right? You want to look at schools that have a really positive and involved alumni network so that you can network with them. And you want to go to a school that feels, personally for me, everyone has their own things, but I didn't want to be just a number. I wanted to be someplace that some people can get to know me, I can get to know them, and I would have resources that would support me not only through college but after school.
All right, I saw Adrian Williams' hand.
I was going to add something to the question about getting an internship. If you go, I think it's available to everyone. If you go to the court website, usually, and this is pandemic time, so it might be a little different, you can find out about internships on the court's website. I know out here in Long Island, they are looking for people to do internships. So we had a program last year. They're trying to expand the program this year, even though it's probably will be virtual. They're looking to expand the program. And I share Lauren's comments about what college to go to. I say when you go to college, do what you enjoy because you'll do well in it. Don't pick pre-law because you think you want to go to law school. Because if you don't go to law school, you took pre-law classes that I don't know what career you would use that for. When I was in law school, my major was accounting. Then my major was computer science. Then my major was management of information systems. So it doesn't. Just do what you enjoy. I couldn't figure out what I enjoyed in the beginning, and finally I did graduate in 4 years. But and you don't have to do 4 years. I went to the military, so part of my time while I was in the military, I took classes. Part of my time I was out of the military in the reserves, I took classes. There's no right or wrong way. Just enjoy it. And if you enjoy what you're doing in college, you'll get good grades, and that'll enable you to get into law school.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Betty?
Hi there. I just wanted to highlight that the courts also have the problem-solving court. So if you have an interest in human service, counseling, or working with vulnerable populations, if you're interested in, mental health, psychology, but there are other careers in the courts that look for individuals who have clinical backgrounds, and that's primarily the problem-solving courts in the state. So that's another avenue or another career that individuals can pursue if you have an interest in human service or counseling.
Yes, and social workers too. Justice Rosado?
I just wanted to add in terms of the colleges, really look, there's these amazing programs now where they combine the bachelor's with the Juris Doctorate. So for example, SUNY Albany has now combined a program with Albany Law School so that you get your bachelor's and Juris Doctorates in 6 years as opposed to 7. You know, you guys are growing up in an internet world. I didn't have that growing up. So search that internet. There are programs that want to diversify law schools because there's not enough people of color in certain law schools. One particular program is called CLEO, C-L-E-O. They really look to help you from high school to college to try to get you into law school. I agree with Lauren. A lot of times people want to go with the big name. If you don't do good at Columbia for $65,000 a year, then you're stuck with all these loans. Do your research and don't sleep on the CUNY schools. CUNY Law School has created amazing judges. In fact, 3 of our surrogate judges came from CUNY Law School. Thank you.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Good point. And a lot of us went to undergrad at City College. City College was called the urban Harvard. You know, I went to City College. I know Justice Doris Lynn Cohan went to City College, Brooklyn College. And so if you're thinking about colleges, as Adrian and Lauren said, don't get wrapped up in that. I would tell my students at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, it's what you put in is what you're going to get out. At the end of the day, when you get out of law school and you take the bar exam and you pass, you have a license just like every single other person. So it's what you put in is what you get out of it, and you would be surprised. It depending upon, you know, what your value system is, what you want to do, whether you want to make a whole ton of money, whether you want to be in public service. You'll be surprised when you look at the backgrounds of individuals and see where certain people are with those particular value measurements, if you will. All right, so there's another question here, which is this similar to a question that I had for all of the panelists about what obstacles did you have, and if there was a reset button, what would you do differently? So the question here in the chat is, what certain challenge to your job that the public wouldn't be aware of? What is a challenge to your job that the public wouldn't be aware of? It's a little different from my question. What challenges do you have that the public, the general public, is not aware of? It's a very interesting question. Okay, so I'm just going to jump in because I see I see a lot of pause. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Adrian, go ahead. Adrian.
As a court attorney and as a court attorney referee, we're not known to the public. We're there really to guide the judges. This is in civil court. In criminal court, it might be a little different. I've never worked on the criminal side. We're there as counsel to the judges, so an extension of their own law clerk. We, as court attorneys, write decisions. Sometimes we conference cases. Sometimes we make phone calls. I mean, we do a whole lot of stuff. But what people don't know is that we actually exist. Our name doesn't appear anywhere. We don't get any credit most of the time for the decisions we write. We write in support of the judges, which is what we enjoy doing. We write in support of the judges. So it could be a challenge if you're a person who wants to have your name in the lights or highlighted or known. But if you like to be in the background, it's a perfect job for you.
Yes, that's a great answer. Dr. Campbell?
Great question. Some of the challenges, I would say, in my role, I see some of the challenges is getting more people to think positive about jury service. and to increase the appearance of individuals that are in non-response areas. And so I think the biggest challenge for me is reimagining and recreating the new narrative about the importance of jury service and getting more people to serve.
Okay.
Our jury system is the cornerstone of our democracy and our justice system.
Absolutely. Thank you. I see KS has their hand raised. Would you like to voice your question?
Yes, that's me, Kelly Swayze. I just
hi.
wanted to comment because a challenge as a court reporter, a lot of people have a perception of us as, oh, you just hit a button, you just sit there and, you know, you hit a button, you just print out the transcript, but it's a lot that goes into it. It's very technical. So if you are looking for a skill, a trade school, it's something that you may be interested in. There's a lot that goes. We're learning almost another language as far as listening and translating it in through our fingers into a transcript. So if there's anyone who would be interested in court reporting, there is a great website that you can go to find more information about it, and that would be discoversteno.com. And it's all about stenography and what to expect, and if that may be something that you may be interested in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have another question. Open to anyone. What kept you going, motivated you through your career?
Hi, this is Dr. Campbell. I'll say what motivated me to keep me going in my career. I think I've been with the court system now about 18 years. I would say making a difference in my community, making sure that that justice is accessible to all. And part of that is just what we're doing today, talking about the system that we work for and the opportunities within it and how our respective communities can get involved. Thank you.
Okay. There's another question. I know one student had a individual question for Lauren, but there's another student has a general question as to whether there's a certain GPA that's needed to do well in law school.
I'm happy to answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
If that's okay.
Go ahead, jump in.
I would count, I mean, having a good GPA doesn't hurt you for sure, but I wouldn't recommend getting too focused on that. A lot of law schools across the country are trying to have diverse student bodies. What I would more recommend, I suppose, is just being busy. Work hard in your classes and do the best that you can in your classes. Get to know your teachers. Don't just go to class and then go home. If they have office hours, go to those office hours. Think of something to ask. Make yourself stand out to that professor so that when you need a letter of recommendation, that professor, oh, I remember Bobby came in here, he asked some good questions. Get involved in different community or school organizations, clubs, all that sort of stuff. And so you're building your 4 years of college, you could see as building your application to law school. And I think I did not have great grades coming out of high school, but my grades were all right coming out of college. One thing I did do is I started from a C and ended up as, I think it was like a 3.7. So show improvement is good because it shows that you're on the upward trend in terms of your seriousness in studies. If your grades went down as you got deeper into college, that might be a bit of a bad look. but most schools nowadays are going to be looking at a full picture of what this person is about, not just the grades or not even just the classes you took. You could be a chemical engineer student in college and still go to law school.
That's right. Did anyone else want to make a quick comment? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly on point. And tell your diversity story. Just because you look how you look doesn't mean that the folks sitting across from you are aware of the intrinsic things that are valuable to you that make you a whole person, a holistic person. We were talking a little bit about civic engagement before. Get involved in your community, be an active participant. You have no idea how those things will help you later on down the road. Small things as volunteering for a church, for a neighborhood group, for a not-for-profit. All of those things have to be compiled when you do your essays, when you do your profile of who you are as a person. That needs to be conveyed, whether you're going for an interim job or a career job, or whether you're going to apply for college, whether you're applying for law school, all the way up into becoming a judge even. Judges go through a very, very tough interview process and application process, and who you are, how you present yourself is a huge critical part of the whole package. So,
and
with
Nadine,
that, go ahead, Lauren.
Yeah, if I could just add too, everyone's talking about academics and how college looks, and that is extremely important. But recognize there is no written rule that says you have to go directly to law school as soon as you graduate college, right? Another way that you can buttress and improve your application is to actually take some time and work and get a job at a law firm, get a job at, being a paralegal at DA or whatever. And that way, if you have that experience for a year or two, you can include in your essay to the law school you're applying. Look, this is why I want to go to law school. It's not just a natural next step because I don't know what else I want to do, right? Which is the case for some people, kind of me too. But I really have a demonstrated effort, right? I really I've seen what's out there, and I want to focus on this, and law schools really appreciate that. They appreciate that real world experience, and that really sometimes helps more than what you have as a GPA.
All right. I think Judge Lopez, you have your hand raised.
Sorry about that. I forgot to take it down.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I see time is upon us, so we're going to wrap it up. Just one final or a conglomerate. Let me give you a conglomerate of questions, and you can pick which ones you want to make as your final closing comment. One, what obstacles did you have? And if there was a reset button, what would you do differently? Two, what's your joy, passion, or hobby? Three, what is your one final charge, your final message to students for 2021 and beyond? And that can fold into question 1 or 2.
Okay, I'm going to start if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, one of the challenges I had throughout my career is that I learned Spanish first. Okay, so up until the age of 5, Spanish was what I knew. So what would happen is if I get excited or angry or emotional, the languages would mix up, and what would come out of my mouth would be something not English or Spanish. So here's an example. In Spanish, in English, we say toilet paper. In Spanish, we say papel de toile. If I got upset or angry, I would say something like paper toilet. I would say the word in English, but reverse it like we do in Spanish. And for a long time, that bothered me, and the haters, and there's always going to be haters, always brought that up to me. With time, I have worked on that. And how have I worked on that? I have slowed down my thought process. I have given myself a count to 10. If I'm upset, if I'm angry, to allow the languages to slow down when it comes out of my mouth. And I like to say this at schools because a lot of students tell me that this is something that they deal with. I don't think I would do anything different in my life because everything I've done has gotten me here. And so please understand, throughout your life, embrace it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It makes you who you are. And my message to the students for the future is the same one I said before. The only person that can stop you from being whoever you want to be is the person that you see when you look in the mirror. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Okay, sorry. Was I muted? Am I unmuted now? Can't tell.
You're good.
Okay. So my challenges, I'm going to tell you, challenges in general, getting through college and law school, a lot of the challenge, unless you come from a family that has money, is financial. My family, regular public service. My father worked for the post office. My mother worked for the federal government. They both retired from those positions. So on paper, it might look like they could afford to pay for me to go to college, but it really wasn't affordable. Yes, they could afford it if they took out loans, but that's not what I wanted. So my challenge was trying to figure out how to pay for college without taking out, them having to take out a lot of loans or myself taking out a lot of loans. And that's how, one reason why I went into the military. You know, you get the benefit of getting college, some of your college tuition paid for if you're in the military. And also there are other ways to get your to get money for college. If you work and you go to a company that has tuition assistance. I worked for Teachers Insurance for a little while, and they had tuition assistance. They will pay for part of your tuition. It's not a lot, but every little bit counts. I don't know if they still have that. It's been a while since I went to college and law school, and I know economic times are different, but I think there's still a lot of companies that offer tuition assistance. So those are the things that you could look for when money is an issue. If money's not an issue for you, then I'm happy for you, but it was tough. What would I do different? I don't know what I would do anything different. It's been a long, fulfilling career for me. I enjoyed every step of the way. And what was the last thing? What would you
Joy,
recommend?
passion, hobby.
Oh, my passion is reading. I'm in two book clubs and Zumba. To get through law school, to get through even working, dealing with the law every single day, you need to have a mental health break. And my mental health break has been Zumba for many years, or some kind of exercise. I think it's very important. And it's not that you have to go 5 days a week, but you just have to find a way to get away from the law.
Yeah.
Meditate, Zumba, something. But
mindfulness.
Mindfulness, yes. That's the new term this year and last year.
Okay. Is Ms. Jung still on the line? Our network engineer? Okay, Ms. Swayze?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, Ms. Jung, yes, please.
Yes.
Join in.
I think the way I'm working now, I mean, like I love my work. If give me another chance to do it again, I still choose the same way.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Swayze?
Yes, I'm here. Let me put on my camera. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I really love court reporting. I don't think that I would change anything. Maybe I worked to put myself through court reporting school. So I don't know. I just, I think just really follow your passion and your dreams. If it's something you really want to do, don't give up. Stick to it. It's really important. And don't let anyone put you off from your dream. If that's what you want to do, follow it.
All right.
And as far as the other question, passion, I used to be an avid reader, but because with reporting, there's so much of proofreading with transcripts, I don't really read as much as I used to, but I enjoy my pets. We have 3 cats, which we love, and we had a dog. So that's it. So
District Executive Kirkwood, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm here. I would just echo what the others have said about, following your dreams and of course, never give up. No matter what happens, just keep plugging and never give up. In terms of passions, and for me, it's just what was also mentioned is exercise. It's so important that our jobs are very stressful. There's lots of stuff going on, and having some kind of physical outlet for that, I have found extremely helpful. I played football as a kid, and as you get older, you can't do that anymore. So you have to find other things. So you do triathlon, running, biking, swimming, lifting in the gym, whatever you like to do. But those things are incredibly helpful as stress relievers. Thanks.
Yeah, sounds good. Major Mac, are you on the line? Any final words, Major
I'm
Mac?
still here dealing with the situation, but I just like to say I like what the judges said about not being afraid to fail, and it definitely gives you drive and direction. One of the obstacles I've had was I always had to be the best in my position to move up. I guess it just comes with the territory, and I like to exercise and listen to music for a break from the job.
Yes, music is so important. Judge Davidson, are you still on the line? Are you back? All right. Did I miss anyone? Any final words? All right. So we are going to close it out. I don't think we have time for the court etiquette video, but we do have some lovely music, and we said this word a couple of times. Good. I'm good. Be good. We want your families to be good. We want you to be good in your careers, your jobs, everything that you do. Be good, be kind. It goes a long, long way. Thank you all for being with us today and for us to have the opportunity to present to you. That was my joy for today, and it's going to carry me a long, long way. Thank you, and good night. We will be in touch.
Thank you, Nadine.
Yes,